For any returning listeners, you may be familiar with me sharing little stories about the development of games I play on these broadcasts, and some of you older listeners may even remember me making whole intros about the development period. Almost every development period has their issues, and those issues can usually be traced back to one or two sources. Disagreement among team members, technical or engine issues, financial issues, some virus puts the entire plan in lockdown for a year or so. One common source that can lead to these problems is what I like to call the corporate stooge. Basically, some dipshit that failed upwards into a leadership position despite not understanding how the business works, the staff he employs, how to manage money, or, how to run a fucking business. Several examples immediately come to mind for me. Randy Scott, CEO of Art Data Interactive, who is responsible for the abysmal 3DO port of Doom, which runs at a whopping 12 frames per second and was made in 2 weeks. Randy Pitchford, CEO of Gearbox Software, who presided over the Aliens Colonial Marines debacle, among other things. This happens in movies as well, like studio execs forcing Sam Raimi to include Venom, a character he was not familiar with and didn't understand the appeal of, into Spider-Man 3. What I did not know, though, was the same phenomenon happens in other industries as well, including VTubing. In my last few streams, I've made fun of Vshojo seemingly falling apart, and oh god, it's so much fucking worse now. Before they even put out an official statement, every single talent in the agency, and I mean every single one, including the Japanese talents, and some poor fuck out in the woods with no internet connection, left the company. After this happened, Vshojo would finally make a statement almost, let me check my notes here. Oh yeah, a fucking week after they were accused of stealing wages and embezzling money out of charity. In the statement, Gunrun, the CEO, stated that Vshojo would be closing immediately, which, seen as the VTuber agencies no longer had any VTubers, this was probably one of the few smart calls during this entire saga. Gunrun stated he didn't know the money was for charity, despite taking a picture of himself with the orchestrator of the charity that he himself also fucking advertised. This same chucklefuck even managed to spend $11 million in the span of 9 months. How? I don't know. The lawyers told me I legally can't say that he spent all that money on strippers and blow while leaving the talents to go unpaid and unassisted, spiraling into a deep depression, leading several to break into tears, because that could be slanderous. So instead, I will say that it is my personal belief that he spent all that money on strippers and blow. Now's the part where I sorta bury the lead, since I was one of the poor saps that saw an advertisement saying they were accepting auditions and, in my hubris, actually submitted one. I didn't expect to get anything out of it since, well, I mean, I sound like this. I'm also very small and even smaller when I auditioned, and my ace in the hole of being a diversity hire because of my disabilities, yeah, that's not exactly applicable here. Needless to say, my audition was thrown in the bin like a 2-month-old Iron Mouse model. This did not surprise me. What did surprise me, however, was that no one was actually picked up. The only talent to get in after the auditions was Amelie, whose employment was already arranged before auditions opened. Boy, was she in for some shit. And for once, something scuffed was on the horizon that wasn't her fault. The reason the auditions were held was basically a Hail Mary to try and add more talents, or, to use the corporate term here, revenue streams, to try and recoup the money Vshojo was mysteriously bleeding on strippers and blood. I don't know if Vshojo's tax forms are or will be made public, but if so, I feel the money will eventually be found somewhere it shouldn't be. I've heard people say that the NDAs placed on the talents are now null and void since Vshojo is no longer a corporate entity, but from what I understand, this isn't technically true. I believe these NDAs are still in effect. However, for someone to be held accountable for breaking an NDA, someone has to be there to collect on that violation. This is to say that there is no one to punish talents for breaking their NDAs, allowing them to do so without legal repercussion. Again, I'm not a lawyer, I'm a VTuber, but this is my understanding. Anyway, that's all I have to say on the matter. I'm sure more will come up, but in the meantime, if you have any spare money, I know it's not common in this economy, I put a link to Iron Mouse's charity for the IDF, the Immunodeficiency Foundation. I've been assured this one won't allegedly be spent on strippers and blow, but actually helping people with immunodeficiency problems. Fund research on treatments and clinical care, and maybe even change their name if they take my fucking advice already. If you don't have money,
then pay with your blood!
More specifically, your plasma. This assuming you were able to donate plasma. I can't as a result of being on a metric fuck-ass load of drugs and blood thinners, but that's all the more reason for you to donate if you can. Plasma often gets overlooked as opposed to blood since it's a little more involved, but it's no less important, and IVs of plasma are some of the ways that immunodeficiency disorders can be treated. To close out, I'd like to read a couple of quotes. One from the former CEO of Vshojo, and one from a true wordsmith that also worked for the company. I've done everything I can to fundraise and right the ship these past few months.
Have you tried fisting your own f***ing asshole? Have you? Have you tried?